Hello, this is Cashino, and today we're talking about 5 street photography tips for beginners. Tip number 1 is be ready. And when I say be ready, I mean have your camera in standby mode. Don't switch it off completely because it would take too long for you to put it back on and you would have missed your shot. So remember, you only have 2 seconds to get a candid shot. Another thing under be ready is taking test shots. So take your test shots, know your environment, know exactly what you're going for and what is ideal in that situation. So take your test shots, have your camera in standby mode. So when you press that start or stop button, it comes on in an instant. And just keep remembering, I only have 2 seconds to get this candid shot. That will help you focus and be ready. Tip number 2, setting your frame. You have to be patient. There's sometimes you have to wait for your subject to walk in your frame. So you have to be really patient and then know about your rule of thirds, know about your leading lines, know about composition, know about negative space. So sometimes you're there waiting for your subject to walk in. We think in video mode, in motion, but you have to slow down to still mode. So it's a different frame of mind. When you're doing street photography, you have to anticipate what's going to happen sometimes and just be there ready. So that's what I mean by setting your frame. Also, there's 3 elements that's important when you're setting your frame, and that's LSB. So your light, your subject, and your background. The light, as it depends on what you're dealing with, how the light falls on your subject, and also the type of light you're dealing with. So you study that very well, and then you have your subject, which is what you focus on. It could be a group of people, could be a person, or it could be a building. So you really need to focus on your subject. Then your background. You must ensure that your background is not too busy. If your background is too busy, it would interfere with your subject and people would not know what you're focusing on. So you might need to move to ensure that your subject is intact and is the main focus. So make sure your background is neutral. Remember, LSB, light, subject, background. If you remember those 3 things in setting your frame, it will help you. Tip number 3, less is more. When I say less is more, I'm talking about your gear. Yes, you could have 3-4 lenses and try and change that on the go and it gets cumbersome. So just keep it simple. Have 1 lens, depending, it might be a wide angle lens, might be a 70-200, depending on what you have, that's fine. But try and go out with 1 lens, keep it simple, and you'll be able to focus more on taking better images. Tip number 4 is camera mode. Now, you could shoot in manual mode and that is fine, but when you're doing street photography, a good thing is if you put it in aperture priority. So you set the aperture, for example, you could set it to f5, you could set it to f8, and everything will be sharp and in focus within reason. So with that, it's one less thing to worry about and you could just focus on taking pictures. So aperture priority is a good thing to use in street photography. And along with that, the burst mode, you could set it to continuous shooting. So where you, depending on your camera, you might get 6 to 7 frames to choose from. So instead of just having that one chance, you have 6 or 7 of the same picture to choose from. So that's another thing that could help you in your street photography because you've got more options. Tip number 5, editing photos. Now I must say, for myself, black and white is excellent when I'm looking at my street photography pictures. So it's not a rule that every street photography has to be in black and white, but it does look good. But you just need to bear in mind that when you're editing, sometimes it might be too busy in color. So you know when you need to convert to black and white and vice versa. So you get a situation where you have a clash of colors in a picture. The best thing you could do to enhance that picture is make it black and white and all uniform. And sometimes that makes it good. There is no rule in place, but the more you do, the more you edit, the more you would understand which is better and which you prefer. It's personal preference, but just be aware of it, that sometimes there might be a color clash in some of your images. But this is something you will learn, something you will get better at the more you do. So just keep taking those images, and making the right decision in editing will give you the best results at the end. I like my street photography in black and white, but not always. There's sometimes when the color is good, and there's sometimes when I just need to keep it black and white and keep it simple and move on. So those are my 5 street photography tips for beginners. My name's Cashino NDT. Keep taking images. Till next time, catch me on social media. I'm out.